Hello YouTube, welcome back to another science video, and in this video we're covering the water cycle. The water cycle is a biogeochemical cycle along with the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, and the phosphorus cycle. Now biogeochemical is a fancy science word you might think at first, but actually it's not that esoteric in terminology. So, bio is to do with living things. So, water affects living things, and that's why it's bio. Geo is to do with the earth. This is with the earth. Chemical, right? Chemical because we're dealing with elements here. The water cycle, so H2O, we're dealing with hydrogen and oxygen. Carbon cycle, we're dealing with carbon elements. Nitrogen cycle, we're dealing with nitrogen and element, and phosphorus, etc. Now first off, we're going to be, where we start is not important because it's literally a circle, I suppose, but we're going to start in the largest reservoir of water, which is the ocean. As the sunlight heats the water in the ocean's waters evaporate. Now the evaporated water becomes water vapor and it slowly goes to the sky. And transpiration is the process of evaporation from plants, which is sometimes known as evapotranspiration, which is just evaporation of water with plants. You might recall that evaporation is the conversion of state from a liquid to a gas. Right. Now what happens is the water vapor just slowly condenses, right? Condensation. Condenses, and they can form little droplets that form clouds. So that's condensation, which is the conversion from a gas to a liquid. So as the water vapor travels up and up into the atmosphere, it cools down where it forms tiny droplets and forms clouds. Now, clouds are quite important because they can transport the water to land, right? As they move. Without that, most of the water would just be cycling through the ocean and some above lakes. So what happens is these clouds can move, and then once they are very condensed, right, they turn grayish, and the grayish color, that's when most people know it's going to rain. Gravity does its magic science, and precipitation occurs. Precipitation is essentially the liquid water. Oops, sorry, I just realized I wrote solid. Let me just write that liquid. Yeah, it's just the liquid water droplets finally coming down to Earth. Now, this does not necessarily have to mean that the droplets, or what is falling down onto the Earth, is a liquid. Because snow, hail, all that is just precipitation. It's just what the water droplets in the clouds do when they come down to the Earth. Precipitation. So think of rain, hail, snow, all that. That's all precipitation. The clouds form precipitation. Now, once the water is down onto the Earth, it can do two things, but this diagram actually does not show one of them. Now, the most obvious thing that happens to the water is that it actually runs off to the lowest point. Now this is called runoff because it takes a pathway of rivers and all that, rivers, lakes, deltas, to find its way to the ocean. That's runoff. So the water is cycled back to the ocean through runoff. And another step is called percolation. And this diagram, I'm not sure if by groundwater it's referring to aquifers, but percolation is the process of water seeping underground to form underground aquifers. Now, aquifers are actually large bodies of water that are underground. The thing is, aquifers take millions of years to form. And they form through the process called percolation, which is just the seeping of water through the ground. So, that's how this groundwater is formed, right here. Now, that percolated water is really, we don't have to consider that yet. We can explain that in further videos, but that's not really that does not matter to the evaporation. But most of the water is runoff, so the cycle does not lose much water through groundwater or percolation. Now, like I said, this whole cycle is just very fundamental for life, because it's a biogeochemical cycle, right? All life requires water. Now, I want you guys to, before I end the video, I want you to take something away from this video. Now, most farmers in this world, you have bores that access the underground aquifers. Now, the water from the aquifers take millions of years to form through percolation, but that water can be dried up very quickly in just maybe weeks sometimes, weeks to months, maybe less than years. So we're essentially damaging these biogeochemical cycles. I can talk about some more biogeochemical cycles such as the carbon, phosphorus and nitrogen cycle in future videos, but just remember these key steps: evaporation, condensation, precipitation and runoff, and you guys should be fine. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe, comment any questions you have. I'm pretty sure I will make a video on it. Thank you very much for watching, and this is Maths and Science Help out.